Hey there, Willowbrook, and thanks for doing our deep dive with us today. Today we are in James chapter 5. We're in verses 1 through 6. And as I read the passage, I got really excited. Not because of what the passage says necessarily, but because I think this passage is a really good example of when we can put some of the tools we need to understand the Bible into practice. You see, anytime you read a passage of scripture, you need to make sure that you understand who it's written to, what's going on in the time, and especially what the whole of scripture says. And I think this passage is a great opportunity to work those tools and to strengthen those understanding skills. You see, because James is writing to rich people. Well, how do I know? Because the very first verse, it says, "Come now, you rich people." He's writing to some rich people, and he's doing so almost as an Old Testament prophet. He's almost prophesying over these rich people about what happens when they make money the priority or the pursuit. And so if you read this, what you're going to read is them talking about their wealth rotting and about silver corroding, and then he just speaks really harshly to them. And if you read this, you think, well, it's wrong to be rich. I mean, if you're rich, bad things are going to happen. Well, no, not if you read it within the whole of Scripture. Now, certainly, if you make materialism or the pursuit of wealth your main goal, James is warning against that. But we also see as we read throughout Scripture that God uses wealthy people. Abraham was very, very wealthy, and God made him the father of a nation. Job was wealthy, and he was righteous and blameless in the sight of God. But we also see other warnings, just like we see here in James chapter 5, that the pursuit and the love of money is dangerous. And so James is giving a really good, important warning about the dangers of those who are wealthy. You see, you can be wealthy, but anytime you are, there are temptations and dangers associated with it that you have to be careful of. And so he talks about here that we need to make sure that we are looking to Jesus, that we are not making wealth or riches a god, that we put God in the right place, the place he belongs, where he gets all of our attention and all of our affection. And then anything after that just seems like rubbish, as Paul talks about in Philippians, that it's not nearly the big deal that God is. And so as you read this, read it and discover the warnings that we find from James for those that pursue wealth. But don't read it in isolation and think, oh, it's just evil to have wealth or to have money. Any of us that live in the Western part of the world, we're rich. So this should be scary unless you read it within the whole of Scripture and you understand that it is the pursuit of wealth over the pursuit of God that becomes a dangerous place and a temptation we should always look out for. So ask God to search your heart today. What are the pursuits of your heart? Are you pursuing God? Does he get your attention and your affection as he deserves? Or is your mind on the next thing that you are going to purchase or the next time you're going to make more money? Think about it. Ask God to search your heart, and then let him do a cleansing work in you if there's places in your heart that need to be adjusted. I hope that you will have a happy Wednesday.